Good morning, good morning. Ohayou gozaimasu from Asakusa. Not quite such a bright sunny day today. No problem. We've moved into December now. We're in the future here in Japan. It's December. Hard to believe, of course, another year already, almost at the end of the year. Does that guy come by every day? I don't remember seeing that little guy. Are you complaining about the cone alignment? Please, it's not my call. They fall as they fall. What is my call actually is the floater today. It's tilting a little bit. The particular lens on this camera, we're looking down the street, and if you look at the left-hand side, they're tilting in, and the right-hand side, they're tilting in. I should have adjusted the tripod for our floater. There's things I can worry about, and there's things that just, please, let's just let him go. It's going to be an okay day, I think. I had a great start to my week. I'm not sure, Monday is not really the start of my week, sort of Wednesday is, because Tuesday's our closing day. But anyway, Monday. Not only she didn't pass me today, but we got an equals. She didn't even come close to lapping me today. Thank you. We've talked about this before. It's really not about me. Actually, I just did my swim as a normal swim. And we're talking about that lady in the same lane as my pace lady, but if she has a slow day and I happen to have a good day, then here we are. The other day, if I happen to have a bad day and she's really doing it, she'll kill me. She'll pass me 3 times, whatever. So, yeah, John Becker's on this. That's his life. For those of you who don't know, John's deal is shooting real estate, for the most part, indoors, also outdoors. He shoots houses for people that are trying to sell them, trying to make them look as good as possible. So his job is taking that thing and fixing it. John, do you do it all in Photoshop or do you do it in the camera? Do you move your camera and adjust the lens and the bellows or whatever to make it vertical? I don't know. I guess I know the answer to that one. The paper is out this morning. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me about this. But yeah, the paper is out. One pack for Ishikawa-san. She's doing, what is she doing? She's finishing up some DF10, and then she starts KJ2. Do I ever talk to the lady in the pool? No, there's no communication whatsoever. The guys chat with each other in the changing room, and the women, I guess, chat in their changing room. And maybe up in the gym section, people are on, machines and stuff like that. There might be communication and conversation. I've never actually been up there, so I don't know. But in the pool, there's just no communication, I think among the people who are walking, lane 7 is walkers, people who walk inside the water. Some of them carry weights and swing and stuff like this. And I think those people chat with each other. You can see it going on. But those of us who swim, of course not. Any repercussions from last time late paper? No, she didn't. I was in time. Thanks to, who was it, Tom 1060, I was in time. I had the paper out and it was, I forget, whatever, an hour or so before she came. But funny enough, I confessed to her later on when Ishikawa-san was here. I said, we got lucky today, or not lucky, we had some good help today. And she's like, be careful. Okay, we're going to be carving, but not as we know it, Jim. In other words, the key block to the K-pop tiger is done. It was finished yesterday in the shop during shop hours. It was busy yesterday, but not all that busy, and I was able to sit here and carve. This is done. The next job is going to be, the wood is here. The next job on this will be beginning to make color transfers onto the plywood that we're going to use for this project. We're not going to use expensive cherry wood. But before I can do that, I have another emergency rush job. So we're going to put this away. We might get back to this later this morning because the rush job I'm doing, we may finish it today here. Did you notice the Kento, the registration system on this block? This is a block for the kids' printing activity. So we only have one registration mark, as it were. There's the corner, and it goes all the way across the side of the wood. Those of you who know the normal deal, we have two, a corner, a right, and then a left. Little kiddies don't know how to do that, and there's no time to train them all. Kids come and line up and just get involved in everything else. There's no time to train them. So you teach them about scissors, to hold the paper with scissors. It takes a few seconds to do that, and they practice holding their paper in their scissors. We did, as those of you who've done a print party with us. You hold the paper in your scissors, and your thumbs can touch both sides. So that's your first training for this, and you practice dry. Then they put their pigment on, and away you go. And for the kids thing, it's simple. You just put it in the corner, and then the paper can go anywhere. You don't have to worry if you're going to hit the registration mark. You just can't fool around when you're talking about 6-year-old kids. Down it goes. Let me get a piece of paper that's sort of the right size so we can see this. An A4 piece of paper. Give me an A4 piece of paper. Must be somewhere, an A4 piece of paper. Whatever, A4 piece of paper, something like this. So you do it. You train them, as I said, you train them with their fingers. You do it scissors. You put your thumb in like this, and down it goes in the corner and anywhere. Then they grab the Barron tool, get it in their property, grab the Barron tool, and they can't see it, but we've designed it so they can rub anywhere. They just rub all over the place. It's wet, the paper will stick. The person is guiding them, trying to keep them away from the corners and stuff, but you basically rub anywhere. And then you pull it up and you've got your print. That's the idea. Kids can do it, scissors hands, or mom is there with the really, really little kids, whatever. It's the same kind of system we used for our print party. Okay, so, but for the moment now, because I've got an emergency job, put this aside for a second. What's this? Oh, Jesus, paperwork. This is not taxes. I know. I got a note from the Ome City office. They weren't angry, they were just whatever. It was a reminder on top of a reminder. I'm late in my payments for my nursing care insurance payments. And what had happened was, here in Japan, we pay our income taxes, that's done by the company. We pay our city tax, we pay residence tax, we've got land tax if we have a building. We pay, of course, medical insurance. And on top of that, once you get to be 40, I'm not sure when it kicks in. When you get to be 40, I think, don't quote me, it's somewhere around 40 or 45, you have to pay nursing care insurance. So that, at the end of the day, at the end of the life, when you need it, you get, nurses visit your home and wipe your bum and stuff like that, whatever. So I've got all these different folders. I've got a folder with all my requirements for they send you slips of paper that you take to the bank and pay. So at the beginning of the financial year, you get this stack of paper, Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D. And I missed this one. It was behind some other folders in my paper, and I didn't make it. And the payment for September 30th, the payment for October the 31st, and the payment for December the 1st haven't been paid yet. So our lady who works for us in Ome, she's called me last week and said, Dave, we're getting these red memos from Ome City Hall. You haven't paid your taxes, your nursing care. And I said, I've paid everything. I hadn't. I had missed these 3. So today I got to go to the bank and make these payments. It's 3. What's the deal? It's 16,500 yen per month for me. The other funny thing about this is it's all pointless. These nursing care payments, they start at age 40 or 45 and they finish at 60 or 65, depending on how you've chosen your retirement system to work, your pension to work. I'm 74 and I'm still legally required to pay these every month, as I am legally required to make my pension contributions. which I will never, ever, ever get back. It's an anomaly. The system works for most people, but it doesn't work for me. The reason I'm still paying these is because I'm still employed. I still have income. And if you have income of any sort, you must pay these payments. So I'm well past pensionable age. I can't draw a pension. You can only draw a pension when you've paid into it for 30 years or more. And that date comes for me on my 99th birthday. Okay, now what's happening today is this. These are the blocks for DF12. And they were supposed to go to the printer yesterday. Chiharu-san is waiting for them. I discovered a problem with them over the weekend, me and Ishikawa-san, you know, the lady who I had to take the paper out yesterday. They're too shallow. They're all way too shallow. And Ishikawa-san struggled and struggled and struggled. She did the thing properly. She got her colors prepped, and we've got a mihon. We've got a sample for Chiharu-san. But everywhere, all over, all of these blocks, it isn't deep enough. So I've got to go through this now. If I send them to Chiharu-san like this, she'll do a test print and she will phone me back and say, sorry, nothing I can do, just take these away. They can be printed. If you put a sheet of paper on really carefully and you rub here, be careful, don't go a little millimeter over the edge, and you rub carefully, and I'm going to keep tracking. There it is. You're okay, you got through it. You do that 3 or 4 times and oops, nope, you banged a corner, a print spoiled. Chiharu-san has to make 200 prints in about 10 days, and she has to go bang, rub, bang, 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 bang. She can't fool around being careful with this corner and careful with that corner. They're all too shallow. So it's my job today to get a chisel out and try and clean up the shallow parts. So we're not going to do whack, whack, making a whole ton of noise. This is going to be light tap, 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 tapping, along with clearing from some of the clearing chisels. And there's a few points where the carver has just made the same problem all the time, all the time. It's around the corners, all these corners. It's the shoulder. If you imagine the print area here, it's clear, well away from it is deep enough, but right close to it is not. And the paper we use isn't perfectly beautiful flat paper like it was back in the Meiji era. That's why this carver carves too lightly. He thinks it doesn't need to go any deeper. Because, you know, real high-quality printmaking back in the Meiji era, I've seen the blocks, they're not deeper. Unfortunately, the world we live in requires, that one, it will make a mark with every single sheet of paper. Stop talking, get tapping. There's lots of them inside too. Inside's not quite so bad. This is a very full design. There's lines everywhere. So there's very few places inside where the paper has a chance to sag. We'll see as we go through the color blocks. We'll see. Mostly it's going to be around the outside. So chisel to get the big one away, and then knife chisel to clean it off. If we leave the chisel groove there, that will pick up pigment and it will cause a different sort of problem for the printer. So cut off the shoulder and then smooth it out. It would have taken just an extra few seconds by the carver himself. Should I show us a close-in before and after? Okay, this one's black. It's difficult. Wait a minute till I get to one of the color ones. It's easier to see on a color block, so just hang on a minute. Could be some places inside, it's hard to tell. The blocks too, the ones that require a heavier pressure, the paper tends to get pushed down more. This is the key block, it won't be such a heavy pressure. Should I take an impression from this block to see which areas need most work? It wouldn't help me. If I took an impression from this now, it would just print like a normal key block. Remember, I'm going to be taking impression on just a piece of junk paper. It wouldn't be a problem. The problem comes when you get a stack of 200 sheets, quite softly moistened, and when you're running at speed. Bang, bang, brush, 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 bang, bang, boom, 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 boom. To take a single impression, you can be careful, do this, do this, do this, do this. She won't be able to be careful for every single moment of every one. It's a bit of a, I mean, is the printer a bad printer? No, the printer has to, what we're trying to do is we're trying to remove every possible thing that is going to cause a problem for the next person down the line. If you leave it the way it was here, the next person can do it if they really focus well and if they make sure that, you know, they do be really carefully, but you want to clear the barriers. You want it so that your next person can just get going, zone out, put the pigment on the block and just go forward, confident that it's going to print properly. And that's not the case with these blocks. Any given one of these blocks can be printed perfectly, but it requires super care and attention to do that. You want to give them a break. Trying to find one that I can show and where you're going to be able to see it more easily. I don't know. This is bad and this is bad, but can we actually see this? Okay, the area past that corner. Remember, the corner is going to print. Maybe you can see it there. That shoulder. See where the light is shining here? That shoulder. It's not actually deep enough. And at the edge of the paper here, at the edge of the block, the paper will fall over just a little bit. It's going to be hard to show you this. As I said, wait till I get to the color blocks, not the black ones. It's kind of a policy in any organization. Whenever you're doing your job, on a job that's group work, other people are also going to be working with you, you try and leave it so that the next person's job is easier than harder. You don't, tough for me, we'll punt that. They can take care of it down the line. You don't do that. And I learned this vividly because I was my own carver. I carved and then I printed. And in the early years, I'd carve what I thought was a good set of blocks, get to the printing stage and think, oh my God, who carved this thing? You know, when you live like that for years. So sort of the problem here is that this person is just a carver, not a printer. And we've talked about it, and he's like, this is not Taransan, by the way, nothing to do with Taransan. He's like, it's the printer's job to print, it's my job to carve. These are beautiful blocks, they're very nicely done. It's the printer's job to print. Shrugging his shoulders. It's funny too, I think in the Yoshida book, he talks about this at one point. The Hiroshi Yoshida book. I was just going to say something that doesn't make any sense. If I were running a print workshop and I got to choose how to do all these things, I would force all the carvers to learn some printing, enough that they could print their own blocks first. That'll teach them. So if I were running a printmaking workshop. Wait a minute. Someone say, wasn't there supposed to be a guest today? I don't think so. There was a time, a couple of weeks, where I had a possible guest, somebody I asked, but who then demurred, said, no, Dave, I think I don't really want to do that. That was a couple of weeks back. Then I also mentioned that Murata-san will be visiting on December the 15th, on Monday. But her train doesn't get to Tokyo until after we're finished. So I'm sorry if I left confusion in the air. I don't know. It's just right on the edge, you know. The old should have been just deeper. It's hard to show. I mean, this one that I've just carved, you know, it's a bit deeper than normal because it's for kids, but you get rid of everything around the line, you know. And this carver has just removed a minimum amount of wood. So every single place around every one of these, it's barely deep enough. I can't recut the whole set. I was doing some of this yesterday when I was waiting in the shop here yesterday afternoon. Some of them are worse than others, so. Then there's another request from the printer, Ishikawa-san. She did her testing on this, and then she pointed out one place that there's going to be real trouble. There's a place in the design where there's a fabric pattern, and it's going to print in red, and it's got some white outlines left out of it. And on a clean, flat, super calendared piece of paper, you're able to do this and the white lines stay clear. But on the actual printing paper, moistened printing paper, it's different. The paper is softer, comes in a bit, and that, look right in front of my finger there, that white line is not going to stay clear. Someone's suggesting, no, just leave this. Let Chiharu-san fail and cut them herself and send them back and use that as an example for the carver. If I treat her badly like that, she won't be with us long. She's a professional printer, top-level printer, and she expects me to send her blocks, you know, a working set of blocks. She's not part of my, my test program or my discipline program. I can't do that. I'm going to try and get it ready. I've already talked about this. I phoned her and talked about this yesterday and gave her a heads up and said that I'll be doing what I can Sunday and Monday to get these things shaved down to a level where we should be okay. She was not happy about that. We've been in this situation before. She knows this person and his block sets, and she is not a happy camper, but I cannot put the burden on her. In a different world where we had all kinds of labor available, I could be a stronger boss and say, that's it, you do this again and you're toast. But that's not the world we live in. Okay, now for this, I need the microscope. So how many layers in one block? Some of these blocks have multiple. There's three areas going to print on this block. This one has one. I don't know how many printings it is altogether. Ishikawa-san prepared the book for us, the guidebook for the printers. I don't know. It's a complicated print. There's indoor and outdoor. There's light, cool, and there's dark, warm inside. It's a bit of a complicated image. I'm not 100% sure we have got a good setup for it yet. Okay, where was the problem here? Yeah, even this one just filled in completely. Let's zoom in. Someone said a couple of months ago you went to see Monte's garden and his home. Have I seen all the prints he has in his house? I don't know what you're talking about. Monte. I'm sorry, I don't understand your conversation. Are you talking about in France, Monet? Those guys, Van Gogh and Monet, whatever, they had Japanese prints? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, that must be it, the show. It's like a puzzle, okay. All right. Speaking about puzzles, chatting with fans yesterday, a couple of guys came in. It turns out they were from Seattle. One of them has been watching our YouTube videos or Twitch streams, Mike Moy. I'm not going to be here today because he's on vacation. And he had come in to say hello and all that sort of stuff, as people do. And he'd brought a friend. He and his friend were traveling from the same company. And we had good conversation. And I forget, I guess it must have been, I'm asking these people, you know, what do you do? And the reply came back, I'm a developer, whatever, code, you know. And I had spent a bunch of time last night wrestling with some CSS for the website. And I'd been frustrated being unable to find a solution to a CSS problem I had. So sort of half as a joke, I said, hey, great, then you can help me because I'm wrestling with a CSS issue right now and I'm having trouble getting this thing to work. And I just sort of joked about this. And the young man got serious. He said, show me, let's fix this. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I mean, I'm wrestling with this, but I don't expect the fans to, you know, when a doctor comes in, you don't say, I've got an ache in my elbow here, you know. And when a software developer comes in, you don't throw him your CSS problems, you know. He's on vacation. But he was up for this. He said, no, seriously, show me the thing, you know. So I showed him the test page that I had and the struggle that I was having to make this page display the way that I wanted it to. And I had gone to a JavaScript solution for this particular issue. And he said something that made me realize this guy knows what he's talking about. At least, like, whatever. He said, I don't think you need JavaScript for that. And I had said, no, I agree, because I had tried to do this without JavaScript. I thought you could do it in pure CSS, but I just failed. I could not get this thing to display the way I wanted to. So I had created some JavaScript to quote, fix this. And this is it. This is a challenge for him. He likes challenges. He likes puzzles. He likes this and that. So that was it. I had to give him a link to the sample page. They left after a while. I got back to business in the shop. I go out for dinner. I come back for dinner. And you know where this story's going. He's solved my problem. And he's done it by removing some of the cruft I had. He took out the JavaScript, which wasn't necessary. Cleaned up something in the CSS. Found the place where I had made a conceptual error, and the page now displays really, really nicely, almost. So I'm like, at this point, what should I do? You know, send me a bill? He's, you know, fixed an issue that I wasn't able to fix myself. So, you know. But that's not the end of the story, because they talk more about who they are and what they did. And it's really, really funny. Something very, very funny happened while we were talking about this. Because while we're standing in the shop describing the computer programming thing here, he had mentioned his company name. I can talk about it now. It's nothing secret, whatever. The young man here who fixed my CSS issue last night at some point, you know, well, what's your company name? And he said, oh yeah, maybe you've heard of Zachtronics. And I hadn't, because I'm not into computer games and stuff. This young man has been running a company called Zachtronics. And at that point, something really, really funny happened. Another customer in the shop who was just browsing prints and supposedly not listening to us turned around with his mouth open. You, he points, you're, and he's been stunned by this. You're Zachtronics? I played all your stuff. You know, and these two guys are in and out and chatting. So I guess this guy is, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be sarcastic here. He's well known in the gaming field for puzzle games. And in fact, he asked me then, after we did the talk about the CSS thing, he said, do you like puzzles? I wasn't quite sure how to answer, because obviously there's something big happening here that I didn't really know about. And I mentioned that, I forget what I said. In these days, I'm kind of wrapped up in all my work here, and my puzzle activity these days is just a morning dose of the New York Times, Wordle and connections, and then I do the New York Times on Sunday. And that was enough for him to think, okay, you're in this. And then we started talking about puzzle games and stuff, and I used to do the Myst stuff, the Oxid, and that's it. He's now into this. So he showed me what they're doing. And Zachtronics apparently doesn't exist anymore. Some view, whatever, talking about this. Zachtronics, I guess, is his previous company that's closed. And he now has a company called Coincidence. I made a note here. Coincidence Games. And I guess they're distributing on Steam. So his new outfit is Coincidence Games. And he showed me on his phone a game they've got, Kaizen. There's a game they've got, and this might have been why he was here in Japan. He's doing a bit more research for something coming up. They've developed a game, it's on Steam for Windows and Mac, whatever, called Kaizen. Somebody, links, thank you very much. coincidence games. So I guess it's probably going to be here. Zachtronics are super famous. I really didn't know anything about this. I'm not, you know, you guys know I'm not a big gamer at all. But we had great fun chatting with these guys yesterday. And Zach, must be his name, Zachary, I guess, fixed a complex CSS issue for me. So what's your recommendation? How do I take care of him? What should I do? What should I send him, or what should I? Zach, yeah, literally looking it up. So someone's asking about my knife, and yes, indeed, it is not the optimum shape for the job I need to do right here, right now. So I ain't about to try to go around any of those corners. I can do what I need to do here, I think, by making small wiggles here and there. But yeah, it's not the right shape for this. I can't get away with anything, can I? But it was really, really funny. The other thing about that, I said the gentleman, whatever, the man who had been browsing the prints, who turned around in shock when he heard the word Zachtronics. He's a person who's been here before. And actually, I didn't fully recognize him when he came in, although I knew that he'd been here before, but I didn't know his name. And the reason I was able to remember that he had been here before was because what happened yesterday, he came in, browsed a little bit, then he turned around and said something to me. And I couldn't understand it. It didn't parse. His face, little twinge, he said something again, the same thing, and I couldn't parse it. And I was thinking, oh my God, what language is he speaking? I didn't get it. And my face, he must have thought. And he said the same thing again, and finally, the penny dropped on two things. I did parse what he had said, and I remembered we have talked before. And I pointed at him and I said, you've come a long way from Glasgow. And he's a young man from that part of Scotland, and he's been here before. But when he just said a very short sentence out of the blue in a very, very, very quite Glaswegian accent, it took 3 tries for me to parse it and understand what he was saying. I'm not shooting at him, I'm not being sarcastic. It's a tough one. In context, once we start chatting and talking, I can understand exactly what he said. But a single phrase, something out of the blue in a very strong accent like that, it didn't hit my parse filters, whatever. Very nice young man. He's studying Japanese. After a few minutes, he switched to Japanese. And it's interesting, you haven't lived until you've heard somebody speaking Japanese to you with a Glaswegian accent. Really, really nice young man. He might be here today. I'm not sure. He might be listening to here. So, and he's got a plan. He wants to come and live and work in Japan, and he's doing the right thing first. He's studying the language. But then he's the man, a minute later, turned around and said, Zachtronics, that's you. So we had a gas. The conversations yesterday just went back and forth and back and forth. You know. People are asking questions about this block. I'm trying to catch everything while I do this. Will I be testing this? No. We're up against the wall on this now. Printing on this has to start right now. These blocks, the paper is all ready. Everything's ready. Test printing has been done. This block set is going to Chihara-san today. It was supposed to go yesterday. She's our top printer, and when her time comes available, we jump. We don't say, well, just a minute, the blocks aren't quite ready. Can you wait for next week and hold on there? We cannot do that. She is now Top Gun #1. And we take care of her very, very carefully. And having said that, I'm going to send her this set of blocks now that will not be very enjoyable for her to print. But no, there's no time. It's got to go right now, today. So the young man from that computer company, the game company, of course, we had such good fun talking. I'm now in double trouble. Not double trouble, I'm in doubly obligated to him. Because he not only fixed the issue I had with the CSS, but because he had heard, after we talked about games and I said we used to play Oxid and Myst and stuff, and he seemed to feel that I would like his stuff then. So he's encouraged me to send me a link to get that game. He's just done the Kaizen game. And Dave here, coming up to the end of the year, December, with 6,000 projects cooking right now. And I'm being encouraged to get a Steam account and download this game and have a good go at it. And I'm like, I don't want to be unfriendly. He's really super happy, super friendly. They were so good, But like the last thing in the world, in my universe right now, I can possibly do is start gaming. And even worse, if it turns out to be really cool and really good and really interesting, So I don't want to be unfriendly to him, but my God, my God. Yeah, I could stream. Well, yeah, I didn't think of that. I could stream. I could join Twitch and stream. This advertisement is probably enough of a peg. It sounds like this guy's famous. I can't help him. As I said, he mentioned his name in the shop and people all around. It wasn't just the guy from Glasgow. Somebody else later on knew who he was and knew what was going on. This guy was more famous in my shop than I was. I don't think there's anything I can say here that's going to help him. I don't know. Sooner or later, every Twitch channel becomes a game channel. I would have to get a gaming chair and some headphones. Will our workshop be open during January? Our shop will be open. You're a bit confused here. We have a shop in Asakusa, which is open all the time except Tuesdays. And we are going to be closed for the New Year holiday, January 1st, January 2nd. 2 days we will be shut, tight, nobody here. And don't think about banging on the door. January 1st, January 2nd, we're closed. And then we're closed always on Tuesday. Other holidays, we are open. I'm trying to identify which places here are too tight, which are going to cause the printer trouble with Tamari. Now, someone mentioned the knife is not the optimum for this, but it's okay. Keep it short. Don't try and do long lines. Don't try and go around any sharp corners. The knife is fine. It'll do this. Keep going upstairs. That must be Ionason, right? Is she back from her run or going out for her run? I don't know. The camera's pointing the wrong way to see who's coming into the office. There's another bit of a backstory. We're not going to get into it yet, but I said I was wrestling with CSS yesterday, the last few days, and I have been. What am I doing? We're kind of busy right now, and I shouldn't be mucking around with a website. But there's a small project that came up last week, and I can make a bit of a confession here. I should not have done this over the past few days. Today is, what day is it today? Monday. Yeah, I think it was last Monday, actually. We had a stream here, and we were doing this and that. And then after the stream, it was a fairly busy day in the shop. But even though it was busy, for some reason, I ended up thinking about, can I tell you about this? I guess it's okay. Mokuhankan right now, we're getting ready for the year-end video where we're talking about what's Mokuhankan going to do this next year, and we have no subscription series and stuff like that. So Mokuhankan issues are really front and center for me. There's some big, quite sort of existential issues for our company that are front and center for me right now. But it's not the only thing on my plate to think about. As part of thinking about Mokuhankan, Dave here is also thinking about himself, what he wants to be doing and what jobs I want to do and how I want to be spending my time and stuff like this. And I had a little file on my computer that I set up years ago, sort of a to-do list, not meaning to do today, but things that Dave, these are things that you're going to have to get going on at some point. So, a sort of a life to do, not a bucket list, but a life to do. Dave, while you're still strong and while you're still healthy, don't forget, you got to get this thing sorted out, blah, 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 blah. And taking a jump here, one of the things on that list for myself is my own website, not the company website, the Mokuhankan stuff, but Dave's own net presentation of his life and work on the internet. This woodblock.com is my old website. And I started it in whatever it would be, 1995, 1996, I can't remember, woodblock.com. And it became the repository for everything I made and created, and the prints I did, and the stories I wrote, and the everything else, blah, blah, blah. And it grew insanely complicated and crazy and mixed up over the years. So woodblock.com actually isn't a single website, it's a cluster of strange websites. And a lot of it dates from the earlier stages of the internet, when there were no things like style sheets and stuff like that. So a lot of the web pages in my site are ancient and old-fashioned and creaky and don't work. But there is actually some fun, good, interesting content there. So it's been one of these things in the back of my mind for ages and ages and ages. Dave, at some point, you're going to have to figure out what to do with all that content you created in the quarter century that I was a solo printmaker, before starting this chaotic thing that we have going here, Mokuhankan. There's a quarter century of content. Not all of it is, wonderful, but there's a quarter century of useful content there. How to organize it. And it's been ticking in the back of my mind for a whole bunch of years. And last week, I think I figured out what to do. On Tuesday, I was going to take a day off and go for a walk and try and think about this. But it rained and a bunch of stuff came up here. I couldn't get away. So on Wednesday, I did a bad thing. I took the day off. I went to the pool in the morning. I chatted with the staff here in the morning, got things set up. People have all got their jobs to do. Nobody needed me. The sizing was done. Everything was done. So on Wednesday, I took a day off and I walked. And I walked down to the port, down to Takeshiba Port. You can walk along the Sumida River And you can walk, actually, from here in Asakusa, you can walk north about 3 or 4 or 5 kilometers to Kitasenju Ohashi. There's a bridge up there, Kitasenju Ohashi. And from there, you can walk all the way down the Sumida River, all the way to Tokyo Bay. There's a place called Takeshiba. It's a port where the boats go out when they're going to Izuoshiba and places like this. It's a group of ports. It's Takeshiba and Harumi. I forget. Hino. I can't remember. There's three places where the boats and stuff come in there, whatever. So I walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked. And I came back on the what they call the water bus, the Suijo bus. I came back on the bus, the water bus run by Tokyo Prefecture. And I had the idea. I know when I got back that evening, I had got it. I had the idea for how to sort out and how to control and how to make a web interface that would work for 25 years of content, making prints, having videos, blog posts, story a week, this or that, this or that. I have figured out, I think, an interface for how to make this work. So that was Wednesday. To think of something is to do something. So the last couple of evenings, Thursday night and Friday night, I ran up, what do you call it? I ran up a test of this. I'm not ready to show you this. This is not a lead up to showing you this. Give me a few more days or a week on it, and maybe I'll have some samples to show you. And I showed, this is the part of the conversation yesterday. I was struggling with a fundamental CSS issue. I haven't done web stuff for a long time. And Zach fixed that. So we're going to explore this conversation as time, over the next couple of weeks, whatever. I'm going to show you parts of this. And what I want to do, because there's more than 10,000 pages of content in there, what I want to do is this: get the design locked up myself, get the framework in place, and then call for help. Not volunteer help, call for paid help. People, I will need help in getting some of the old code from those pages switched over to the new format into the new website. And there's certain parts of it that can be automated, and a whole lot of it will not be automated. And I'll be asking people to work with me on this. Again, not volunteer work, actually paid. Okay. What time is it? It's 8:54. Okay, what we're going to do, those blocks, I really can't do much more with those blocks. They are now just going to go out to Chiharu-san for printing. All I can do. That's done and cooked. Let's get them out of the way. So let's move along with our next job here. I've got to wash this block. Let me get some paper for test printing this. Let me get a brush. I've got a Baron. Let's test print this thing. I can't get out. Okay, where's my brush? Ooh, what was that? Don't worry, stack it up. I stepped on something, right? I dropped something. Hang on a sec. What is it? Just a moment. That's the desk camera, right? It says no signal. Let's follow the cable back. Cable goes back up here. The cable goes here. Oh, did I unplug it by mistake? Yes, I unplugged it. Look at that. I stepped on the power cord. Okay. 3, 2, 1. There we are. Don't panic. The audio shouldn't have changed. That was simply the desk camera. Okay, we have the test printing gear. We have a brush here. Okay, we don't need the flask. Let's just in the way at the moment. Let's move the flask out of the way. 1 sec. Ready, down she goes into her home. Hi, thank you, Mark. So, Mark says, watch out for the demo mode. Countdown to the demo mode. How long does it take? 10 minutes? I don't know. Okay, we have some black pigment once this comes to life. We have a brush. Okay. Oh, it's not cleaned off yet. I need if I clean it with a black brush, it won't. Somewhere in here is a brush, right? Where's my brush? It may be no longer. There it is. Got it. Oh. Desk cleaning stream coming up, right? Is that going to be Christmas Day's stream? Have we sorted this out yet? What day will the desk cleaning stream be? More tax papers, spoons, who knows what's down there. Okay, first let's clean it off. The black you see on this block right now, this is the toner from the printer. Remember, we drew the thing, we put it in Photoshop, we printed it out on a laser printer and pasted down the thin paper. So the black you're seeing is the back side of the toner. Let's just wash it off. Okay, I've got the slippery matte. I need the non-slick. Non-slick, go. Something else too, yesterday in the shop, we're coming to the end of the big autumn rush now. So the shop is busy, but it's not super chaotically busy. So yesterday in the shop, I had time to do a bit of that carving. I also had time to skim through the chat from Thursday. The chat content of our stream from Thursday. And we talked about toilets. And I hadn't really thought too much about it. I had thought that was a little bit of an interesting thing to mention, that something. I didn't expect it to become the monstrous topic that it became. And it really, really seems that we all had fun on Thursday talking about that topic. So relax, I'm not going to replay it today. But it was great fun reading the chat and seeing where we went with that. And it was funny too, reading the different comments that came up on the chat there made me realize there's 3 or 4 things I didn't include. Relax, we're not going to do it now, but there's 3 or 4 things about Japanese toilets actually, you know, that I didn't talk about and didn't include. If I had thought about it more carefully, it could have been a proper presentation, but it wasn't. But it sounds like everybody had a good time. Everything came out okay. Okay. We have, do I have test paper? Blank sheet of paper here. And I've got the transfer paper, Gampi, on our backing sheet, ready to make the color transfers. But before I do that, I want to make sure we test this properly. Do I have paper? Yes. Okay, this is just junk paper. It's copy paper. For the print party activity over in Canada next month, my daughter and her school teacher friends, they will be using a kind of a construction paper, a Japanese-made kind of construction paper. It's kind of a factory-made washi paper. It's not expensive washi, of course. Okay, here we go. The moment nobody likes. Here we go. Are you ready? The moment that cannot be taken back. We can never do it twice. We're going to start using this block. And it's always a sad moment because this is a sculpture. It looks so cool by itself. It's wet right now because I just washed it. But after it dries off, it looks so cool. These wood blocks make actual nice sculptures. But that's not the end game. 3, 2. Which way? Which block? Which brush? Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Derpy Tiger, meet your maker. So the first part of this block's life is now finished. It's no longer a clean, pure wood sculpture. It's now going to have to get to work. This block is now going to do one thing. It's going to make a bunch of pictures that are going to make a bunch of people happy. Probably mostly little kids. And if we treat it well, take care of it well, which is a bit difficult when you're printing with little kids, but if the adults in the room take care of the block and supervise things properly, this block will last for many, 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 many years and will result in the production of many, many thousands of woodblock prints. So here's impression number 1 of what will hopefully be tens of thousands coming up. There we have her. It's not rich black. I'm using watery pigment. We're not making a finished print yet. We're just doing a test at this point. And how did the carving go? Does anybody see any issues that we need to resolve before moving on? Oh, there's one. That's not a carving issue. There's a hair, a brush hair. Little break on the bottom line. I think, no, that was the brush hair. Yeah, in fact, there it is. There's another brush hair. There it is. And that brush hair was sitting here. Do you see it? So if this was an actual woodblock print, this would be our first spoiled copy. There was a brush hair sitting there and running across. So there you are, spoiled, the very first one. Cats tend to have loose hair. I get it. What really tends to have loose hair is a brush that only gets used once every few months, and it sheds like crazy. Okay, let's make a couple more copies of this, just because we can. The block, of course, still, it's way too dry. Okay, we can put on our printer hat for a minute, knowing the circumstances, knowing the kind of brush, knowing the block. What I'll do is this. I'll put my professional printer mode on for 1 sec. Look, what we do is this. Spread the pigment round, gently, 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 pull it out of all the interstices, reach for the paper, and then check, 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 looking good. I would have caught, if I had done that the last time, I would have caught that loose brush hair. That's part of what I mentioned before about Chiharu-san and these other blocks we were doing today. The printer, the more time they have to check and do this and fool around, the less productive they will be. Here we go. So what we thought was a broken block with a white space at the bottom is not. It was literally a hair on top of it. Oh, we get another one. No, there is still a brush hair. Look at this. See it? I even checked, and still we got a brush hair. And there's another one on the wood right now. Let's pick it up pretty so you can see it. If this were a real printing session, at this point, you stop, because this brush is shedding so much that you can't even make one impression. So again, it doesn't matter for us what we're doing today at all. We're not making prints. But if this was print making, if you were making an edition, you stop right now. Pull this brush out of there, grab another one to keep going with for the moment, and then this brush, there's some decisions to make with it. Is it toast? Has it come to the end of its life? I can't open it up easily to show you inside, but there's metal. Each one of these hair clumps is tied in with metal. And it could be that being left alone and whatever, some of that metal has rusted and some of these clumps of hair are coming loose. So I don't think it's dead yet, but it absolutely needs maintenance. It needs to be opened up, inspected, figure out where the loose hairs are coming from, and away you go. But after what we just saw, loose hair, 1, 2, loose hair, 1, 2, there's no way you can keep printing. You just spend all your time picking up loose hairs. My first guess is that one of those metal ties in the back has rusted. And this has already happened before. We've already lost one clump. Can you see it? There's one clump missing. You get what's going on. Get more light here. I'm sorry. Do you see there's a clump of hair missing? We can see a hole. There it is. Boom. So at some point earlier, one of these wires has actually snapped, and Dave was doing something, printing, and boom, boom, a whole clump of those hairs fell out. And again, it's sort of abuse. It's actually a high-quality brush from Sekine-san, and I'm not going to simply toss it aside, but the problem is when you're using your tools all the time, every day, you're maintaining them, you're using them, they stay moist. When you just use a brush once every now and then toss it aside and don't do anything with it, it's going to decay. There's a situation, the Smithsonian Institute, what's it called? The Smithsonian, the National Museum in Washington, D.C. It has different names. The place that we mostly know of as the Smithsonian It was at one point called the National Museum, and they, in 1895 or in the 1890s, they accumulated a bunch of Japanese traditional printmaking tools. It's a long story. We just need to go into the whole thing right now. But there'd been an exhibition there. They had asked the Japanese side to send over some tools, carving knives, brushes, whatever, which the Japanese side happily did. The tools went into the museum's collection. But that was 1895. And those tools have been in drawers, in showcases. There have been some exhibitions in recent years where they've been showcased, where the tools were actually brought out and looked at. They made a catalog and stuff like that. But that brush, or those brushes that are sitting there now, there's absolutely no way on this planet that they could possibly be of any use, because everything will have dried out and shrunk and crisped. It's the paradox of these. If you use them, they wear out through use, the same as the brush. The knife gets shorter and shorter. Using them kills them, but not to use them, they will just die and decay and fade away. It's a bit of a paradox. So there can be no such thing as a nice, good, active, leftover tool from the Edo era, because if you used it, it wouldn't exist anymore, and if you didn't use it, it wouldn't be anything worth looking at. Okay, let's do color separations. Are there any traditional brush makers left? Yes, yes. Kumiko Miyagawa. She lives around the corner from us. She lives over just by the temple where Hokusai's grave is. And she inherited the family business, brush makers, Miyagawa Brush Shop. And she's making brushes, the traditional kind. I'm in public here, whatever. She's doing nicely. She's making nice brushes. Yeah, there are some tools still being made. Matsumura-san, the company who has lots of woodblock stuff, he's also got some people making brushes for him, some in Japan and some in China. There are brushes around. It's not like you can't make woodblock prints anymore. Okay, let's make our color separations. She's pretty much the last one. Vivid KP's talking about, is she scaling it down? Her main business now is not brushes for woodblock printmakers. She has an active brush shop, and even when her parents were still alive, woodblock printing brushes were only a small part of their catalog. It's makeup. Makeup brushes, soft sable brushes for putting on blush and whatever it is that people do with makeup brushes. It's makeup brushes that is now her main stock in trade. Although, last I heard, she was still making brushes for woodblock printmakers. But it's sure no big deal for her anymore. I think we're good to go. Okay, there's our first transfer sheet. Those of you who know how this works, here we are. It's bilib. It's gumpy paper, spray down to a backing sheet. And the next step here will be to trace out the areas that we need in different colors. But first, let's do all the transfers one by one. How's our time? Oh, it's 9:15. Ay! Actually, I don't have an official show and tell. I've got some prints we can look at for a minute. Okay, let me do these 4 sheets. Okay, don't panic, Dave. Don't panic. Let me do these 4. 9:15. Where does the time go? We just started a few minutes ago. I feel like one of those kids in the daycare center. You can't see what you're doing. One difference, this paper I'm rubbing on the back and it's not showing through because we're using quite a stiff cardboard type paper here. Remember, we're not making a woodblock print at this point, we're just doing transfer sheets. When the kids at the real activity, when they start making their prints, when they start rubbing, it starts to show through. So when somebody's doing the actual print activity that these are doing for, at this point you'd be able to see the tiger. So as you rub, it comes into view like magic, bit by bit by bit. So don't misunderstand what's happening here. It's much more difficult. This paper is so thick and it's not moistened, so it doesn't show through. But when the kids do it, as they rub, it starts to show and the magic happens. It also looks like I've got it good, you know, even though I can't tell where we're rubbing myself. I'm just rubbing almost randomly. There's no black marks. We've got it carved deeply enough. There's no empty spaces. So far, so good. This project is looking good so far. Okay, I think a way to do this, I think if we just unplug it and plug it back in, just unplug it and plug it back in. Instead of trying to figure out how to turn off the demo mode, that's the fastest way. We're almost done. These handycams, they default to demo mode, which is not kind of the way I would do it, but I guess what they're expecting is that in big camera, whatever the camera shop where they're being sold, this camera shop staff sets them up and plugs them in. So I guess it's better that the camera defaults to demo mode, at least then people browsing in the shop will see the thing, you know. But it doesn't help us. Every time it turns off, we have to turn off demo mode. I think it makes sense. In their world, it makes sense. You know, once people buy a Handycam, the fact that demo mode is the default, I mean, 99% of your Handycam purchasers, they don't buy the camera, turn it on, and sit it there. Of course, they turn it on and use the camera. I mean, our use case here is kind of an unusual use case. So I can't shoot at Sony for that. Their decision to put that in default, I think, made sense. Okay, 9:21. Let's put this aside. I don't know what's going to happen now. This is Monday. I will do the color separations one by one here. Rather than doing them all, pasting them down, what I'll do is I'll stage this because we want to see some of this on stream. So I'm going to be working on this today and tomorrow. You won't be able to see it, but I will make sure that I save some of this for Thursday so that you will be able to see at least one color separation. I'll put the red marker on, we'll paste it down and get going on carving. So let's make that deal. I can't wait for Thursday to continue, but I will save some of this work for Thursday so you will be able to see it. I'm talking Thursday Tokyo time, the next stream. Is that a deal? Have we got a deal? We have a deal. Like you have any choice. Okay. Decisions, decisions, decisions. I'm not sure. We've talked about some of this. Remember, we chatted a while ago, and I said my landlady was asking me a favor. She used to have an antique business, and we're talking 1970s. We found out exactly 1970s. And how much I explained, whatever. She is cleaning up her affairs to some degree. And in her warehouse, she found a whole bunch of frames with woodblock prints inside that had been part of their business back in the 70s. Now, all they want to do is clean it up. She has no shop anymore, no place to sell stuff. Dave has a shop. She's got prints in the back room they don't know what to do with. It's a match made in heaven. So over a period of a couple of days, in the past couple of weeks, she has put stuff in the back of her car. With her little car, she just barely sits over the drive. And she drove them over here and brought them to us. And she says, anything, whatever. If you can use them in your shop and sell them and we get a bit, that's fine. If they're garbage, that's fine. Just whatever. She just, I say dumped. She just turned it over to me. Just do whatever you like with these. If there's some benefit to them, so be it. We looked at the first ones while she was here, and the frames were rusty, they were moldy, it was clear to all of us in the room that first day. The frames themselves were toast. And we made that clear to her. We'll see if we can get inside and salvage some of the prints. And she says, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Anything, anything, anything. Okay, long story short, the staff has done this. Over the past couple of weeks, they have opened up all these things, and the frames are now up on the roof. Is it raining? Doesn't matter. It was raining the other day. The frames are up on the roof, open to the rain. Nothing we can do. They're just going to decay into a pile of rubble that we will move to the garbage. But as they opened up these prints, they found different stuff inside. Some of the prints, did we show one on the stream? We opened it up and it was crumbly. I took a piece of the washi or something and I tried to bend it and pop, it just broke. Some of the prints were so much acidic that they crumbled to death. Some of them are actually okay. There had been other bits of paper in the back of the frame and the prints seem to have come through. Let's look in the pile and see what's in there. And Dave has got to decide what to do. I just gave myself a splinter. Whatever, nothing to do on stream. There is a splinter from somewhere. Anyway, whatever. Let's grab a bunch of these. Here we are. We'll be able to see too, right from the color of the paper. The prints all have the same mark on the back. They are from Adachi. And they have Adachi stamp from the 1960s, 70s, 80s. So the prints have a very nice provenance. They come from a good supplier. So Suzuki-san and her company, they must have bought a bunch of frames from a frame supplier. They must have bought a bunch of prints from Adachi, put them together, probably sold a ton of them, and then the rest of them went in their warehouse. And right here is one of the worst examples. What's wrong with this print? Tell me the ways. How many things can we see wrong with this thing? This is garbage. This one is not going in the shop. It's absolutely garbage. Step one, it's been in the frame. Frame covered it here. The light has faded this thing like crazy. Step two, it was on the back. It was against the plywood. It was pasted into a frame with sellotape. The actual tape is gone now, but there's no way you can get rid of this revolting brown recipe. It then had so much damp inside it, that the red color, which is printed all underneath, this brick red color goes right down through the bottom of the mountain. The red color has bled out into the washi. This print is toast. It's finished. And it's so brittle, I sort of don't want to do it, but if I crumbled it in my hand like this, it would crumble into pieces. You can even see there's been some of the stuff that was put behind it has left marks. It's just going to go in a file, and we'll keep it here. I have a file upstairs of heavily Fox damaged prints that we want to keep as a useful resource for the future when we are doing things like trying to reverse foxing. What can you bath a print in to try and reduce the acidity? This group of prints will be a great resource when we or my descendants or somebody else working with us wants to try working on stuff like this. So rather than just throw this away now, this can be a really useful tool for working out ways to try and reverse this. If you've got a real Hokusai Red Mountain from his day, and you're a museum curator, you can't fool around with it. You can't test this and test that. Arigatou gozaimasu. No, thank you. You can't do anything. All you can do is sort of delicately hold it. You can't try out different ways to fix it. But this thing, because it's literally worth less, you can test stuff. If you're a museum curator, you could do things like cut this up with scissors, A, B, C. You could do testing on different kinds of chemicals to see what they do to the paper. So it's hugely useful for somebody in that world. Mokuhankan here is not doing any of that kind of work at the moment, but that's what this print is going to end up being used for. This one is not so bad. It's quite soft. There's a little tiny bit of matte thing at the front. Nothing on the back. We've got the sellotape marks that are there. This print has life left in it. Adachi from the 1970s. This is the era when Kubota-san joined Adachi. He went there, I think it was 1972. Don't quote me. Somewhere around that era, front or back. So Kubota-san, we found some newspaper in the back of one of these. It was dated 1975. So the young Kubota-san, being there for 1, 2, 3 years, he very possibly had a hand in making some of these. We could get away with this, actually. The paper, I'm not quite sure on this one. It's a bit brittle. But if the paper wasn't too brittle, we could easily slice this. We could chop off the bit at the top. It's an open print. There's no border at the top, so nobody would know or care about that. Adachi was good, but they're nowhere near as good as pre-war Adachi. This is good Adachi, 1970s. But when you compare this work with the Adachi pre-war stuff, It's good. It's very nicely done, but it's not A grade. There's 2 levels here. There's the light gray and the dark. And look at this, same. You can see the edge of where the dark comes. You shouldn't be able to see that. It should be invisible. There's nobody on the planet that can do this now, not even our printers. I can't do this anymore. But this is not the top A grade work that they used to be able to do. Foxing. She has a beauty foxing spot. Good morning, good morning. Who have we got here? Oh, Uragawa-san. Good morning, good morning. So someone's got suggestions to use different antacids or different things. That's what I said. This set of prints then actually is a real treasure house for somebody who was actively working on print preservation, print conservation, and who wanted to test out and try different methods for doing that. So these are all going to go in a file upstairs. We're going to pay Suzuki-san for them. We're just going to buy them from her, and we'll tell her, okay, we'll see that they get a good home. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They can't go to a good home by going into our shop and being sold. There's just no way. We can't sell something like that. The person would take it home, take it to a frame shop. The guy tries to frame it and it crumbles in the hand. And people are asking questions, would this help, would this help? I don't know. I know nothing about conservation and antacids and what to do with these sheets. It's not my knowledge field. They look nice though. They look nice. The white here too, this is a bit unusual. This is not white paper showing through. The printmakers here, maybe this is even in Hiroshige's day, the first samples of these were the same thing. You know we make snow in the sky by cutting a hole, printing a dark sky, and the white paper would show through and it looks like snow. That would be fine for snow in the sky, but it leaves you unable to show snow falling on the ground, because the ground also would be white paper. So what they've done for this is they've used white opaque pigment to do the snow. Instead of cutting holes in the sky block, they have cut a block with all dot, 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 and they have printed the snow with bright white opaque pigment. And that stuff hasn't foxed, hasn't toned, hasn't aged, hasn't done anything. And you can see places here where there's both of them side by side. We have snow from paper where there's holes cut in the block, and we have snow from the white opaque pigment stuck on top. And maybe when they made this print, you wouldn't even have been able to tell the difference. There would have just been snow falling. But now the snow in the sky is yellow and the snow put on top of it is bright white. So you can see the two different methods of making snowflakes side by side on one piece of paper here. Good fun. Good fun. There's something else. I got to dig down here and find it. I was maybe going to not show it to you, but in the pile of stuff, the prints repeat. They've got multiple copies of the same things. They also have Adachi's Wave from 1975. It just so happens that next to me right now is the Mokuhankan Great Wave. Can we, should we, Yeehaw! This is the Mokuhankan Great Wave, 2015, printed by Kubota. Just let me clean up some of this other stuff here, just a moment. Junk here, coffee cups, junk. Okay, which one is which? You can see which one is which. The Mokuhankan one is still bright and clean and white. The one on the left is Adachi from 1975. What else can we find? Can we find the guys in the boat here? Well, it's going to be hard to get them side by side. Here's the little guy in the boat, but I can't get them. Just a minute, I'm trying to get them side by side. It's okay when you're at the edge of the print. It's difficult to get them side by side. Okay, what I should do is this. Let's try this. If I put them in the same place, just a moment, let's try this. One sec. There's the little man. Let's zoom in. Cottomate. Okay, there's my copy. And let's flip back and forth. That's mine. This is the Adachi. Whoa! Mokuhankan is looking pretty good here. And maybe it's a bit of an unfair competition because the Adachi block is worn out. Look at places like this. My block here, this line is still fresh and neat and new. The Adachi block is kind of worn out. This block has seen way, 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 way better days. But just the actual carving. Look at my carving here. All these little tiny, tiny little beautiful brush strokes. Mokuhankan carving can stand up to this, you know. We're okay. Ours is clean and hard and new and fresh. Where else can I compare? How about if we go to the other boat at the other end? Just one sec. ちょっと待ってください. Okay, here we are. The men in the boat. Are we going to have the same thing? Here. There's the Mokuhankan one, we can tell. Let's flip to the old Adachi one. Oh, look at their hair. They've done different things with the hair. They've given them all a shaved haircut at the top. Again, their block is pretty damaged. It's really at the end of its life. You can see even down in the waves. So it's not really a fair comparison. Maybe their carver, not a bad carver. Look at mine. I think I'm okay here. Little lines here, but they're actually, their carver, look at that. Very delicate work, beautifully done. Up on the top here. Maybe Dave's a bit too much of a control freak and some of my lines are a bit too hard and too cold. But a bit more accurate maybe. Very interesting comparison. Very interesting. They've done this really quite roughly, the gradient. You know, I think we've done our gradient. Remember, this is a reject copy, actually. That's not fair. And they, of course, they've done the classical thing. The modern reproductions being made here all use black because they've copied the old ones. I didn't. I've taken the black off the boats as it should be taken off. We've talked about that story too many times. The old original prints, this boat area, they put it on the same block as the gradation because clearly they weren't planning a gradation. They had a faint sky and it was on the same block as the boat. They later added a gradation, but because the boat was on the same block as the sky, the boat became black. And in all the old reproductions, the same thing. You've got boats. Look at this. This is a mess. Oh my God. There's Mokuhankan. There's Adachi. No question there. I'll put mine ahead of that any day of the week. Look at that mess. Interesting. Good fun. Good fun. We won't be selling this, the Adachi print. Of course not. As I said, all the prints in this batch are going through into our research file. But let's leave it there. Let's end on that one. The Mokuhankan Great Wave. Not. Okay. Thanks very much. It's been a bit scrambled today. Conversation has been a bit scrambled. Topics are a bit scrambled. You know, whatever. There is a whole lot of stuff going on here right now and a bunch of stuff that I really can't and don't even want to think about talking. We might be getting a visit this week from the Bureau of Labor Standards because, whatever. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. I'll see you Thursday morning. We will probably be doing one of the color separations on that derpy tiger print, the one being made for my daughter's daycare center. I'll see you Thursday morning. Thank you very much. Were they waiting for us to open? I don't know. Our sign says open at 10, a few more minutes. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you later. 3, 2, 1, out for now. Bye for now.